Yeah, first one. How do you see orality impacting theological education in your experience through your eyes?
Well, my experience is that most theological education still hasn't learned very much about the orality process. Um, the best examples that I continue to find are in places like indigenous churches and movements in many places in the world that have actually been less influenced by Western forms of education and live in oral contexts. And so they find all kinds of ways to work at this because it's part of the oral culture. So they base much more of it on mentoring and experiential learning. People don't sit in rows and listen to one person, but it's a group function um, that sort of leads and monitors the educational process. Um, and Many times in the teaching that I worked at, doing field trips and getting out of the classroom or breaking up the teacher student format where one person is perceived to have the authority and allowing the learning to come from the experience of the participants are the things at the end of the course that people say were the highlight or where transformation happened, where they will say, the thing I will remember about this 5 years from now.
Can you give me an example of someone you've taught that way that's had that aha moment?
Well, I referenced yesterday this experience where we were trying to look at the book of Acts in the New Testament, a lot of which, especially the second half, is the Apostle Paul on a journey where he just goes village to village. And this mirrored the experience of the way the gospel had come in West Africa to the villages where I was teaching by an African evangelist who went village to village and did this. So in preparation for that, we actually took a 3-day hike and marched along the beach of Ivory Coast from village to village in the same place where the original evangelist had gone, stayed overnight, talked about what we were experiencing and asking, what would it be like to be the first messenger of the gospel in this setting and coming onto that village that you see down there? What would you say when you got down there? And what would the gospel look like? And what would you do if people responded positively? And so I just have these memories of sitting on the beach at night and reflecting on this experience of walking Acts, basically. And when we got back to the classroom and talked about it, there was so very little to say because you read the story of Paul then, and you lived Paul. You know, you experienced exactly what it would have been like, and the early evangelists in their culture. So that's just by far and away what people said was the most memorable experience. It wasn't sitting in rows and trying to read verse by verse. It was getting out there and doing it.
That's amazing. Now, that's good. But I just wondered, was there like a fire that you built and a snake came out?
Oh, you'd never believe all this stuff we do.
and all the people were amazed because, Dr. Krabill was not
not touched
consumed
in
by the
any
venom.
way.